tendencies of the Fulani Janjaweed. But here we must do so. But first of all, let us pray. And I will pray in the language of heaven, the oldest language on the face of this very earth. Eze nwanyi na Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, eze ndị nsọ. Onye anyị na-aja mma wee na-eto wee na-agọzi aha nsọ ya mgbe niile. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya nwee ike niile. Onye sitere n'okwu ọnụ ya sọsọ wee kee ihe niile bụ ihe kere eke n'ụbọchị nke taa. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ usu niile nke ndị agha. Chineke nna nke ụmụ ogbenye. Chineke nna nke ndị Biafra. Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile. Onye anyị na-aja mma. Onye ndị mmụọ ozi na-efe. Onye mmụọ na-erubere isi. Onye mmadụ dabere n'ahụ ya. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya ka ndị okenye na-atụ mkpọ ọlaedo na mmasị n'ọdị nsọ. Ndị Igbo otu ga-ebighị ebi. N'ihi na eboghị mmadụ eboghị mmụọ, ịbụ Chineke nna. ọ bụ naanị gị ka anyị na-akpọ ka anyị enweghị chi ọzọ ewezụga gị anyị anaghị efe arụsị ọ bụ aha gị ka anyị ji aba mba were n'anya isi ihe niile nke anyị bụ n'ụbọchị nke taa bụ site na amara gị onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna o nweghị onye ọzọ ewezụga gị Chineke anyị wee na-ekele gị na-asị gị biko obi ọsọ ọsọ na ndị unu abatawa ụmụ gị n'ime ndị ekworo karịrị akarị n'ime anyị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi were amara gị na ebere gị bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị gị anyị wee na-arịọ gị ka iwe mee ngwa ngwa n'ihe na Fulani abatawo anyị ime ma ọsọ ọsọ gị onwe gị bụ eze ebube dị ngọzi ka iwe zọpụta ndị gị ndị niile kuniri si na ha bụ ndị iro Biafra ndị niile ka ha rabụ ndị kuniri wee na-agba anyị mgba ka ha rabụ ndị pụtara nụ nna nke ebere dị ngọzi si na Biafra agaghị adị ndị dị etu agaghị adị onye nwe m ihe ga-abụ nke ha ọgba aghara ga-anọ n'etiti ụtụtụ ehihie abalị mkpụrụ obi ha agaghị enwe ezumike ị ga-achụghachi ha azụ n'ihere nke onwe ha ha niile bụ ndị kuniri wee na-akpagbu Biafra onye nwe m na Chineke nna ị ga-ala ha niile n'iyi n'ihi na okwu ibu ihe na amen anyị wee na-asị ma leta anyị onwe anyị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi anyị onwe anyị bụ ụmụ gị ndị na-anya isi n'aha nsọ gị bụ ndị na-emere ọgọ onye nwe m bụ ndị na-achị iru gị mgbe niile bụ ndị sitere n'aha ha na-abụ ụmụ ha wee na-enye aha nsọ gị otuto anyị onwe anyị bụ ndị nwe ezi ịhụnanya ebe nzọpụta gị nakwa emere mgbe anyị na-asị na nke dị sọ na anyị ga-ebuli aha nsọ gị elu Chineke nke igwe anyị ga-aja gị mma onye ka eluigwe n'ụwa anyị ga-akpụ isi ala nye gị anyị bụ ụmụ ogbenye onye nwe m o nweghị ihe ọbụla nke anyị bụ n'iru gị n'ihi na ọ bụ anọkpa ahụ ka anyị bụ ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ kama na okwu nsọ gị na-anọgide ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi ihere pụrụ ime mmadụ dị ndụ na nke ebere dị ngọzi kama ị gaghị ekwe ka ihere wee mee okwu nsọ nke gị n'ihi na ọ bụ okwu ka iji wee ka eluigwe maka elu ụwa okwu nke i kwuru nkwa nke i kwuru anyị okwu ọgba ndụ nke i kwuru n'isi anyị eze ebube dị ngọzi ga-abịarịrị na mmezu na Biafra ga-abịarịrị na nke ebere ị ga-emere anyị amara gị n'ihi na ọ bụ naanị gị bụ onye enyemaka naanị gị bụ onye nzọpụta ọ bụ naanị gị ka a na-etu Elohim Adonai El Shaddai onye dị nsọ ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi nara ekele otuto nsọpụrụ ịja mma site n'ebighị ma ruo n'ebighị ebi ka a na-arịọ gị ise ise ise
ise ise IPOB one family IPOB one family IPOB. This is Mazi Nnamdi aka Nwekwensu. As I welcome you, please may you welcome others. I will say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and good night to some of us, depending on your time zone. Please, as you come in, please share and like. It's very important. As you come in, please share and like. It's very important. It's very important because we are live at our various platforms. We are live at Mazi Nnamdi aka Nwekwensu. We are live at Ikechukwu Ezumezu. We are also live at Ikechukwu Umadi Ezumezu. Please share and like. It's very important. Share and like is very important. As you all know, they are fighting both the enemy within and the enemy external to make sure that our message is not passing across. Please, my hardcore, share the program, and I greet you all in the name of Chukwu Okike Abiama. In the name of Chukwu Okike Abiama. He said, we must preach and we must take the gospel across. I told them that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is inside many of us. You cannot stop Nnamdi load that phone on another guy. I did load that phone. I gonna bed, gonna room, Sorry, Biafra. So we must take this gospel across. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is in millions of us, and we must preach the gospel. You saw the title. I say you must demand for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's your right. You must demand. Our topic today is going to focus on the summit on the summit in Imo State. Men are not men anymore. Men are not men anymore. We will play a couple of videos from some governors. No, Governor Soludo and Governor of Abia State and Pius Tanyim. We're going to play their videos. And we are going to demand Soludo before he become a governor what he said about Biafra. And I told you guys that now internet are not the ego. Nke ime ema na-edebere gị n'akụ mgbe ọsọ ọbụla imere aka ikpe ya wepụtara gị. So my people, please share. And we also what annual fear that mkpụrụ mmiri na South Africa. Mkpụrụ mmiri South Africa. Ewu South Africa. Chibuzo egwu atụ. He have according to the video he make, he have quit IPOB. He has quit the struggle. What you got na be na struggle? Agba nwa now. When you know, I bụ nkenke mmadụ na-achọ igwe enyi ọsọ. I bụ nkenke mmadụ na-achọ igwe enyi ọsọ. When Spirit of Biafra left you, one in na-emezi aka ekpe. Ọ na-agụrụ nọ Chineke aka is no more a member of IPOB. Who cares? Amakwa na nwe program ya njikọ maka emele that program on Sunday ka mmemme ya. My conversation with expert national coordinator in America. Donald Azubike. Both of them. Quickly na an IPOB. Because I have no topic here. Let's go to our main topic. I want to know. I hate Timbodombo. And I will say that this is not 2021. This is 2023. Because I Jesus the truth can you put. So my people, I think before we move into the summit in Imo State, I would like us to listen to what Charlie Boy said. Let's listen to Charlie Boy before we move into the action. The interview is granted in a live TV.
And political activist, the colourful, controversial, combative, unrestrained, bold, perhaps harmlessly dotty, but hugely famous Charlie Boy, a public figure whose life has been nothing short of adventure and adrenaline. Over the years, Charlie Boy's maverick spirit has drawn many people in, with his critics accusing him of disruptive behavior, while to his supporters, he's a celebrated protest singer and change advocate, known fondly as Area Fagger. But in the last year or so, many of his achievements and pronouncements, both in music and in politics, and that boundless energy which he used to relentlessly attack officialdom, appear to have been overshadowed by a withering bout of sickness. So how serious is this, and how much has his celebrated public life been blighted by ill health? I'll be joined from our studios in Lagos by the inimitable Charlie Boy. Also on the program, as Kim Jong-un makes a rare international visit aboard his armored train, are the leaders of Russia and North Korea about to forge a new alliance? If so, what are the implications for former EU manager lost in the kaleidoscope, firebrand world of Charlie Boy, and what a controversial, colourful figure he is, with those flamboyant costumes and that rustle of satin and sequins that heralds his arrival at an event. He is, after all, known to be a great lover.
Sorry.
Boy, and what a for good governance, well known for his social media political oration, sparkle and packed music of Charlie Boy. And I'm suitably delighted to say that Nigeria's ult and health and all that just tells me that you're back in shape. We will talk about your personal life and health and all that in a moment. But we're just looking at that video, Nigerian Matters, which I believe came out last year just before the elections.
Oh, come on, Charlie. Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, I'd want to talk about that.
It's Nigerian Matter.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's Nigerian Matter, not Nigerian Matters.
Yeah, but you have to
Nigerian Matter.
Yes, I concede that, but you've got to remember that we have an international audience, and you have a lot of fans outside Nigeria as well.
Okay.
So they want to be able to
Yes, they
understand
better
what
start
you're doing.
getting used to our lingo, Charles. Yes, they better start getting used to our lingo, Charles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's not dwell on that too much. That song came out last year. I mean, what was your frame of mind in putting it together?
Okay, Charles, you know, I'm a baby of the early 50s. And I think during the Nigerian Civil War, I was about 18, between 18 and 20 years old. So I was a matured youth. I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening in my environment. And I must say that that war scandalized my youth. Okay. And I knew all the preambles that led to the Civil War. Okay, and it seems to me that in the present time, since the past 3, 4, 5 years, the same things are playing out. The obnoxious bigotry, the religious nonsense that has been going on for a long time. After the Civil War, yeah. But before I go there, the war, we lost the war to hunger. We lost the war to poverty. That is people on the Biafran side. They lost the war to hunger and poverty, not because of the bullets. And guess what, Charles? After that Civil War, no matter what you had in your bank account, whether 2 billion or 100 billion, you were only given 20 pounds to start life afresh. And I started to see some of those dynamics playing out in the present. It was before our very eyes that somebody said, we will continue with the previous government's policy and we will continue from where they stopped. What does that mean? That we have seen Shege. We are going to see Shege Banza. That's how I interpreted it. But nothing prepared me personally for what was about to happen on February 25th. But my conclusion was the fact that I've seen it's the same playbook. I've seen the same criminals, you know, doing the same thing from the same old playbook. And then, of course, the bigotry, the tribalism was at its peak. It was horrific. There was no time before February 25th that I expected somebody from just a fresh new party that was just going to come from somewhere and win. I wasn't expecting that. And I did tell some of my few friends that I know that this thing is not going to go the way a lot of people think it was going to go. But I was not prepared for the kind of bloodletting that I saw, the kind of bigotry, the kind of tribalism. Even me, Charlie Boy, I was accused of, of being a bigot. You know, me, Charlie Boy.
Right.
Yeah. So I put all of that together and I felt that, no, it's the same thing. But I was not prepared for the height of such corruption, such bloodletting, such hatred. I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
so
but obviously,
I had a feeling that it wasn't going to go.
Right. But as you said, I mean, that song actually came out before the elections. So clearly that's not what influenced
the song was in January, actually.
Right, just before the elections.
It was in January. Yeah, I see things. Yeah. I've been living ahead of my...
Right. So it's a sort of predictive song then, you know, predictive in the sense that it was going to, it was looking at a sense of how things were going to turn out. So what do you think Nigeria is headed now? And how do you think the political issues that you talk about can be resolved?
Well, I'm happy that I see some rise in consciousness, especially amongst the young people. I've always said that the salvation of this country lies in the hands of its exceptional youth. Okay? I could see that people are, you know, young people are now getting to the bottom of things. You know, they're not going to take whatever they see on social media. I know how they've been coming at, you know, all the enemies of the people. I know how they've been going at them. And for many young people, I believe that their mumu, their ignorance, their stupidity is enough. Okay? I know that the young people, I mean, these are the genes generation. I mean, they have the numbers, they have the intellect, and you can't tell me that these evil people in power, you know, can outshine, overdo these young people. I believe so much in the Nigerian exceptional youths because they are the one that is making us proud. They are the ones. I mean, you go to the United States. Do you know that Nigeria is ranked #1 among the immigrant communities in America? They do so well. Our people leave the shores of this country. They excel. They make us proud. But back home, we can't seem to get our acts together. But nothing lasts forever. And I know that this oppression cannot go on in perpetuity. It can't. It can't. And I know with the young people I've met, I've interacted with, I've learned from, something is about to snap. And it will be sooner than later.
Right. Well, let's move away from the political to the personal. I mean, you've had some challenging health.
I think we have to stop it here. We have to stop it there. Charlie Boy. We know the background of Charlie Boy. We know his father. He's a judge. We know his background. And Charlie Boy reminds us that what is playing out then, before the Civil War, is also playing out now. The bigotry, the tribalism, the bad government is still playing out now. And all he said, what I take home, he said that nothing lasts forever. No one will last forever. That was what Charlie Boy said. No one will last forever. Now we have to move to Imo State, the summit, the economic and security summit they did in Imo State. I wanted to see how men become women overnight. How men become women overnight. We all know the problem of insecurity in Igbo land, the southeast. And you cannot talk about development. You cannot talk about economy. No country can talk about economy without security being in place. No country will keep about their economy, how to grow the economy, how to do this, how to build this, without security. In Southeast today, did we have security? The answer is no. At a point, even a so-called Professor Soludo said that we still plan, let's leave this insecurity that Southeast is not the worst in the world. Can you imagine? Even if Soludo na careful can the money say change overnight. This is the man people trust so much. Soludo, people trusted on this man so much. As soon as he stepped his foot in this political environment, he changed overnight. He changed overnight. Today we are going to play his past video, and I want you guys to compare his present video or his president. What he stands for? If it's the same Soludo, we know then. The answer is no. And that reminds me what Chief Dan Ulasi said, that if Igbo politicians will be honest to themselves and come together and demand for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be out the next day. Chief Dan Ulasi say it. Chief Dan Ulasi say it. But today we see what happened, that shenanigan, what happened in Imo State. Now, in all my program, I like before I say something, I bring the evidence. Let's go to the video. First, we have to play Iwanyang, not Iwanyang, Anyim video. We take it up from there.
The leader of the Igbo nation, Chief Dr. Emmanuel Iwanyang, CFR, and President General of Ohanese Igbo worldwide. Our dear Chief Host, His Excellency Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State. His Excellency Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State. His Excellency Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State. His Excellency Governor Alex Oti of Abia State. I am informed that my own governor, His Excellency Governor Francis William, is on his way. The Royal Majesty Abogidi Nnameka Achebe Ubi of Onitsha and other royal fathers present. My Lord, most Archbishop Raphael.
I want to say something here, I don't know why these politicians want to destroy Igbo land. I don't know why. You see the people he recognized, And he called Iwanyanwu the president of Igbo nation. He recognized that Iwanyanwu is the leader of Igbo nation. There's no problem. He now recognized Obi of Onitsha. If we are talking about Igbos, if you are sincere, you guys are talking about Igbos. What concerns Igbos? What happened to Ezenle? What happened to him? Ezenle is supposed to be recognized. Anything that they are talking about Igbo issue, because we know how it started. We know where we come from. Ezenle kingdom supposed to be recognized. Since you are talking about Igbo, things that concerns Igbo, but you went on and recognized Obi of Onitsha. This is that, and it's from that Obi of Onitsha people destroy our traditional rulers and our elders. They become a government stool. They become a political stool. A whole ego will be coming out and be playing against his subjects, just because he wants his subject to become a governor, because he wants a particular man he loves to become a governor. He will be playing against your people. This is how they have destroyed our land. These politicians. Ezenle, when you're talking about Igbo, why about Obido? On him, but every time you guys will do what? You push the man now. You push you now. Only one word, only one pass. But Anna, Igbo ya true ni also. Igbo ya true ni also. People they see from America stress their loot down to Ezenle, not down to Obi of Onitsha. People stress their loot all the way from America, all the way from South America down to Ezenle. And you cannot recognize that Ezenle. You cannot recognize that title. You now call Obi of Onitsha. Obi of Onitsha. Because you guys are using him to destroy Igbo land. Ezes become political Ezes, become Igwe, political Igwes. But you need a also and Igbo. And I true also. Let's continue.
And other members of the clergy present. Honorable Minister of State for Labor, Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha, my own brother and friend, most distinguished Senator Adolphus Wabara, former President of the Senate. Your Excellency, distinguished Senator General, former Governor of Imo State, Ike Nwachukwu, distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Oba, distinguished Senator Uche Kunife, distinguished Senator Ben Obi, and a whole lot of other members of the National Assembly I am not able to identify. Former Governor Hakim of Imo State, and a whole lot of other former governors, former ministers, and former members of the National Assembly present. Heads of security agencies present, Honorable Mrs. Josephine Anene, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and permit me to stand on all other existing protocols that had been established. I am extremely delighted to welcome all of you to this August summit. This gathering today, to my recollection, is the first of its kind in a long time. What comes close to this kind of gathering, where all Igbo men and women in public and private endeavors are assembled together, was the Ahiajoko lecture series that has not held for a long time now. So let me therefore thank most profoundly our dear governors under the aegis of the Southeast Governors Forum for demonstrating leadership by convening this summit. I would like to thank the leadership of Ohaneze Ndigbo under his President General, Chief Dr. Emmanuel Iwanyaun, CFR, for supporting this summit and mobilizing our people to attend. I have special thanks for the Summit Organizing Committee, headed by our own dear distinguished Senator, Chris Anyaun. I thank you all. I congratulate you, man. As we are gathered today, we acknowledge that we as Ndigbo, like the rest of Nigeria, are facing very serious security and economic challenges. We are here to show our collective will, our determination and our solidarity in the search for solutions to our challenges. Above all, we are here to send a clear message to our people at home and abroad, and to our fellow Nigerians, that the Igbo nation strives to become more cohesive in order to be more effective in contributing its quota in the search for national consensus on equity, peace, and development. The theme of this summit can never be more apt. Southeast Beyond 2023, time for reset, as it focuses on the security and economic realities of the ground. Accordingly, I believe that this summit presents to us a platform for deeper reflection on our situation, and more particularly on what should be our best approaches and attitudes going forward. Let me state up front that in this summit, we need deeper reflection on how best to pursue our rightful place in the Nigerian Federation. B, we must reconsider our present direction of development. That is, our social and economic priorities and choices. And lastly, we must agree on how to further engage our young brothers and sisters involved with Biafran agitation to reconsider the idea, because no wise man goes to war with himself. Hence, after the war, you either kill yourself or wound yourself badly. Ladies and gentlemen, I am also aware that our able governors have set out in their respective states to address most of the issues we are going to discuss in this summit. For instance, I am aware that in addition to the security initiative in each and every Southeast state, His Excellency Governor Chukwuma Masoludo just held an Anambra Economic Summit. Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State just had Economic Roundtable. Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State is developing a new economic corridor in Oguta. Governor Francis Nwifuru of Ebonyi State is developing a new industrial and youth enterprise program. And Governor Lex Oti of Abia State is reviving Aba as a new economic corridor. Consequently, this summit is not intended to dish out directives to our governors, but rather to create a platform to share new ideas and understanding on areas of collaborations and integration. In view of the above, I shall therefore only randomly pinpoint a few of my observations which the summit may wish to consider. 1. In the 1960s, the economy of Southeast was rated the fastest growing regional economy in the world due to the pragmatic and planned economic policies of the then Michael Opara administration. At that time, we had not just the rise of industries, but planned industrial corridors, or industrial estates, if you like, all over eastern Nigeria. All the corridors were serviced by the then governments with roads, water, electricity, and so on. Worthy of mention among others are Aba Industrial Estate, Transamadi Industrial Estate, MNA
Yeah, Biafrans, I want to say something because I allowed the video to play a bit before I can say something, because I have a couple of videos that I will play here today. Senator Anyim is telling us that we have to find a way to get back to Nigeria's system. That's why he said men are not men anymore. And that's why I see, quote, what Chief Dan Olasi said, that if Igbo governors, politicians are sincere and come together, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be there the next day. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be next day. Look at Pius Anyim telling us how we will get back to Nigeria's system. How will we get back to Nigeria's system? Ezen Awobundo Onachi. Pius Anyim knows that Nigeria is not for him, and Nigeria is not for us, and Nigeria is not for his children. Pius Anyim, let me remind you, a whole Zik of Africa, they did not allow him to become prime minister. Rather, they made him a ceremonial president. The prime minister, because he cannot compare the knowledge of Zik and Tafawa Balewa. Never, he can't compare. Then when Igbos was in all various of works in Nigeria, in military, in government personnel, Igbos are there. We have great Igbos then. But they never allow Zik. How about you, the men of nowadays? You guys are women. Why not where we see? You want to get us back. Let me remind the Pius Anyim. Oh, sorry, it's network. The Civil War lasted from 1967 to 70, and we know what caused that civil war. We know then the Southeast region, their fastest growing economy in the whole world, and Britain become envy and jealous. But today, it's not for today. No, one day we have to talk about how that coup, they tied Igbo coup. What happened? Britain mastermind that coup. The same Britain mastermind Agri-Ironsi to destroy the regional system. We all know that. This is the plan. But you, Pius, that now Nigeria is not, for all those incidents that happened up to this date. You are still telling us that we will go back to the Nigerian system. Chineke ya kpọrọ ọkụ. This summit is supposed to be for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Even though you guys are doing something on the ground, but people expected that you guys will say it open in this summit. The release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that the two courts have set him free. This is what people expected in this summit. You guys have to say it open. Agụ ka ebo. Who are these ndị ebelu ukwu unu na-atụ egwu? Chineke ya kpụ niile ọkụ. Pius Anyim, do you know that Gowon was overthrown by Murtala Muhammad just because Gowon appointed a South man then to become NNPC group manager? That was the reason why they overthrew Gowon. And when Gowon asked, they tell Gowon that man is an Igbo man. That he didn't mean it to be in that chair. That is the reason why they overthrow Gowon. And after that incident, our brethren in coastal region starts changing their name. Ike Clark start change his name to Ike Clark. We start hearing the like of David West, Ari Masha, and so on and so forth. This is Nigeria you want to take us back to. And my powers animal. You have Nigeria actually take right back to. You have Nigeria actually take right back to. The same Nigeria like 20 pounds. The same Nigeria actually take right back to. But okay, let's continue. What happened the first 90 between Zik and the Shagari? Zik and Shagari. Shagari won the election. And Alex Ekweme became the vice president. And they understood that the tenor, after the tenor of Shagari, the Igbo man will rule Nigeria because Zik is a presidential bearer of NMPP. Then MPN, Ekweme is the vice, and Ekweme will come out to contest. What happened? Buhari took over. Buhari made queue. There was a queue. And Buhari was sent to Daula, and Ekweme was sent to prison. Ekweme was sent to prison. Maybe with Nigeria, you want to take us back to Chineke ya ọkụ. Chineke ya kpụ niile ọkụ. Chineke ya kpụ niile ọkụ. And Ekweme was sent to prison. Then military continue. Ekweme from G34. Ekweme from G34. They fight the military at the end of the day, 1999. What happened? They used the same your brother. They used our brother, Oju Sokando, Jinwobodo, to destroy Ekweme dream. And they pick someone from prison and make him a president. This is the same Nigeria you want to take us to. The same Nigeria. The same Nigeria, all the way from Niger to Lagos to Cotonou, and when they can pass in your land, instead they have taken all the old way that in old Eastern region out. Here, the same Nigeria you want to take us to. This is the same Nigeria you want to take us to. No wonder Chief Dan said that if you guys will be sincere for the money of release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be out by now. Remember that Chief Dan said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the only man Igbo have now speaking for us. You guys are a bunch of disgrace. If a bunch of disgrace. Now, you guys did not talk about the jet bomber in the Igbo community. Jet bomber. How can a governor invite military in his state and there was a jet bomber in the community? Now, I want to play a video of one of leader in the north, former governor of Zamfara State. I want you to listen to him and learn how he protects his people. So they protect his people. These people, they are something else. Call for the of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. How can you have a stable economy if you don't have a security? How can I juggle? Therefore, I want you guys to listen to former governor of Zamfara State, what he said, how he protects his people. I want you guys to sit back and watch what former
I believe that the Nigerian government has the capacity, the military, the security, have the capacity to deal with them immediately if so directed. If they are given the resources they require, the support and political will. But the collateral damages that will be associated with the actions that will be taken is what I believe should be avoided. If you send an aircraft now to where you identify the bandits, it's not only the bandits that will be affected. And if you recall, Mr. President Umar Musa Adwa had similar interaction with the militants in Niger Delta, and it was successful. So I believe that as Nigerians, if they are called upon by government, the major causes of this problem is poverty and ignorance. You cannot find an educated human being, properly educated human being who has something to do, to take his arm, a gun, to go and kill an innocent soul, just in the name of looking for food. These people are having, very high level of poverty and ignorance. So if the government now comes up with a program of rehabilitation, just like they did in the issue of Boko Haram when the issue, was handled, I'm sure you will have a successful ending of this crisis. The economic policy that the government is planning, if you look at the documents of Renewed Hope, I'm sure by the time the implementation takes off properly, all these issues will be handled. The issue of Zamfara, like you rightly said, I'm now a father in Zamfara. And even Mr. President, in my interaction this morning, or this afternoon,
they asked him about the bandits. He said no. Bombing them is not the best way. That if you bomb them, it may affect other innocent people. He was reminding them about the Niger Delta problem, how they settle them, how they settle Boko Haram. But in Imo State, and Abombia, also to Malaban, none of you guys condemn it. But this man sit there to defend his own people, to defend bandits, defend their terrorists, saying that they cannot bomb them. But look at us. Look, take a look. This China from China. Fighter jet gets sent, they bomb war. Attack no IPO, not ESN. Attack no camp. Whereas they destroy people's home. They destroy people's home. But Shetima was there defending his own people. That military operation in his community in the north is not the best. But a sitting governor, Opus Odemma, will authorize Navy, military, all the forces to go and kill his own people. And even in that summit, none of you guys talk about it. None of you condemn. None of you guys condemn the bombing of our community.
Has requested me to put my
condemning it. You not condemn it at all. But all you guys are talking about is economy. This. How will the economy grow if you don't have a stable security? And you guys know the only thing that will bring that security in Igbo land, the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, you guys know it. But out of the heaviness, the jealous of inside all of you guys don't want to talk about it. Because jealousness deny every Igbo man. Like I say, okay, we need for one man, for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But he forgets that now God will use one person to save the rest of the people. God will use one person to save the rest of the people. If you like it, you speak. If you don't like it, don't speak. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is coming out. The coming out of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not in woman's hands. Time will go. let's continue with Iwanyanwu, then I go to another video, you know.
The state, Aba Road Industrial Corridor in Omahia, cashew plantation, oil palm plantation, and so on. From these industrial estates, we have Golden Guinea breweries, modern ceramics industries, Aba glass industries, Nigerian breweries industries, PZ industries, Eagle Cement in Calago, Portland Cement Calabar, Amarako Power Station, the first independent power plant in Nigeria, and so on. But since 1999, that's about 24 years ago, the attention of our governments have shifted. No government in Eastern Nigeria has considered it needful to service industrial corridors and attract private sector investors to set up factories in those corridors. The implication of this is the constriction of employment opportunities for our young school leavers whose numbers have multiplied. According to James Ipob, the most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. This may be the reason for the upsurge of crime and criminality in our zone. In the words of Robert Kennedy, every society gives the kind of criminals they deserve. We need to rethink our developmental priorities in accordance with the needs of the moment. I make bold to say that policy choices and prioritization are fundamental responsibility of leadership. 2, in the 1970s and 80s, Southeast was known for its special entrepreneurship apprenticeship system. It was one of the most unique and fastest growing of its kind in the world. It is therefore ironic that as this system is beginning to catch global attention for serious study and wider adaptation, it is now under severe stress here at home. The worst of matters, successive governments cared little about the collapse of technical secondary schools. Economic agenda of our governments. Accordingly, educational institutions should be planned as an economic institution with the aim to solve or set economic. In any way approximates to the situation in 1967, there is absolutely no consensus on the purpose, content, method, and boundaries of today's Biafra agitation. I therefore call for a rethink by all those involved in this agitation. In rethinking the Biafran agitation, we need to honestly articulate what have been the outcomes or impact of the agitation so far. For example, in my own opinion, in the last 4 years, every Monday had been declared by some non-state actors as sit-at-home day. The enforcement had been brutal, leading to enormous loss of lives and property. It is estimated that hundreds of lives and hundreds of billions of naira have been lost to the sit-at-home order and its enforcement. 2, life has become very difficult in the Southeast, and almost every successful person in the Southeast is in self-exile. If care is not taken, very soon, none of us will come home, no matter the number of security personnel you carry. 3, social and economic activities have been dislocated, businesses have collapsed, no social activity can any longer safely take place in the zone, and no new businesses are being attracted to the zone. If care is not taken, very soon, every means of livelihood in the zone may dry up. Heavy arms and ammunition have become instruments of political campaigns, resulting in gross voter apathy. If care is not taken, very soon, Southeast will lose national political relevance as votes from Southeast will no longer be of any consequence. Crime and criminality have become widespread in Southeast because common criminals have taken advantage of the agitation to advance their evil enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, in view of the above, I call for the following actions. We must articulate and put on record the human, material, and social losses occasioned by this insecurity. This data may appeal to the senses of our young men and women who are involved in this agitation and who may have been underestimating the impact and consequences of the carnage. The data may also attract the sympathy of those who are in a position to help us out. 2, we must, as leaders, state very clearly and put on record our common position on this agitation. 3, we must be bold to identify and put on record our position on the causes and solutions to this insecurity in the Southeast. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mine is to welcome you to this summit. But in addition,
if you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. If what did Nwodo, former the chairman told us? What is Nwodo's statement to us? Nwodo said that if they refuse to give us Igbo presidency, that they will have no choice than to join Biafra's struggle. This was what former the chairman leader said. Nwodo. Now, in Ogolidi again, start telling us another stories. Start telling us very soon. Very soon, you guys will learn from Igbo land. Yes. Very soon. Very soon, and I have to lean also. Very soon, and I have to lean also. Nwodo said that if they fail to give us Igbo presidency, that you guys will not have any other choice than to join the struggle. And I ask you, since the independent, has Nigeria become one? The answer is no. As Nigeria become one, then, as a matter of fact, let me bring this message from Ahmad Bello. What he said. Come and listen to what Ahmad Bello said. Palestinian. This is Nigeria in a protest. And I see that we have to have a rethink. Biafra has come to stay. We have crossed the Rubicon. There's no rethink in Biafra struggle. We are not going back. We are not going back. Look at what Ahmad Bello said. He said, the new nation called Nigeria should be an estate of our great-grandfather, Osman Dan Fodio. We must relentlessly prevent a change of power. We use the minority of the North as a winning tool. And who are the minority of the North? The Middle Belt. We use them as a winning tool. And the South as a conquered territory. And never allow them to rule. Never allow them to rule over us. And never allow them to have control over their future. This thing Ahmad Bello said, is it not playing out today? Is it not playing out today? Did they allow Zeke to become the president? The answer is no. Did they allow Zeke to become the president? The answer is no. Even when they asked Ojukwu to come back, they bring Ojukwu back from Ivory Coast. They lure him into politics. At the end of the day, Ojukwu contest under Apuga to become a president of Nigeria. Did they give him a chance? The answer is no. How about Ekweme? Did they give Ekweme a chance? The answer is no. Then how about the distant one, Peter Obi? Peter Obi, the distant one. Even the election, he won the election. Did they give him the chance? The answer is no. But you know, dear no, we're not why that we should have a rethink about our struggle. Listen, look at what Ahmad Bello said. Ahmad Bello, for years, that thing is still playing out today. Look at Ahmad Bello's statement, and they are still doing it. And And even Osman Danfodio told them they will never stop until they dip their Quran in the high sea. And they're not carrying it out, they are carrying the action out. Look at what's happening in Southern Kaduna. Take a look what is happening in Southern Kaduna. Go and take a look what is happening there. Take a look what is happening in Middle Plateau, Benue. They are carrying. They are systematically carrying the action gradually. They will never stop until they dip their Quran in the IC. Of recent, the emir of Ilori told the Yorubas that they will never practice anything tradition in their own land. Again, they will never practice anything about Yoruba tradition. And Pastor is telling us that we should have the think. That I get think here, we should have a think to go back to Nigeria. Chineke ya kpọrọ ọkụ pious anyị. And I actually mean also, unu niile adgo honest for calling of this of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And I actually also very soon. And I actually also today. This anụ ọfịa ọkwa ọgbago chibuzo egwu atụ anụ ọfịa ọka na ya ọgwọ jiri aka gba ọsọ ntakwu na-ezu egwu anaghị achụ niile ọsọ Chineke kpọọ ọkụ. We should have a rethink. Look at what Ahmad Bello said, that they should never let us to rule over them, and they should never allow us to have control over our future. In order now aside that we should have a rethink. We should find our way to Nigeria mainstream. Instead of using this summit and pronounce to the list of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu openly, oda. A whole former governor of Zamfara State, see no, that I'm going to need the military bomber in their land, that it will affect even the civilian. He said it, but Unumelumkuna welcome. And I on the mad. Or when the Bubaki is local, playing our body. And you guys know that's no okay. Take a own knee no there. So some Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, according to that Chief Dan. No, so the old man that man couldn't even most of you made that mistake. So no, we have realized our mistake. We have to bring this our brother back and back him up. When a man think about your kids, your children's future. When a man think about tomorrow, he will not think about me. So only person could know oku this manante. What is it OT? Where could oku this okay? Soludo zu one off ya. I will play Soludo on. We play the previous video, yeah. One more time because our golden voice is coming on air. Mazi, our barrister is coming on air 9 o'clock Biafra time. So I have no time, so I have to be fast. Hold on, Biafrans. Let's listen to Governor Oti, what he said.
The Obi of Onitsha, Igwe Nemeka Alfred, senior brother, Professor Soludo, Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, CFR, the Summit Central Organizing Committee, and all the individuals and groups who contributed in diverse ways to make this program a reality. Thank you for the sacrifices and for everything you have given to bring our people together to reflect and talk to ourselves on the two issues that are very critical to our survival and prosperity as one people: security and economic prosperity of the region. It is fulfilling to observe that all the clans, socioeconomic, political, cultural, and demographic groups within the Southeast region are fully represented, and the importance of this should never be lost on us. The vision of the organizers of this event is very clear: building a secure, prosperous, and economically robust Southeast. This intervention is very timely, and it is good we have it in this auditorium. Individuals with records of proven achievements in all thematic areas. It is my expectation that the insights to be shared by these accomplished men and women shall help chart a new path for our land, which unfortunately has become beleaguered by several challenges that could not have been contemplated a few years back. Our duty here is to tell ourselves the truth, and we must resist the temptation to let political considerations minimize the frankness and sincerity that should be central to our recovery and restoration. A lot has gone wrong in the last 2 decades and more, and the triggers were both internal and external. What we must do over the next 2 days is to look ourselves in the eye and admit that we have indeed not lived up to the vision and dreams of our fathers, the men who built what was once known as the most thriving economic center of enterprise and productivity in the world, and that was Southeast. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dr. Michael Oparade Sambakwe, Dr. Akanu Epiam, and others achieved so much for this region, not because they had all the money in the world. No. What they had was a clear vision of where they wanted the region to be, and followed it up with the right commitment, made the right sacrifices, and built the networks and partnerships that enabled them to achieve so much within a very short time. Some of the most better developed cities and towns, outstanding institutions and structures we still have across all parts of Igbo land and beyond. Here are very eloquent testimonies to the vision and developmental strides of our fathers. The question is, why did we stop? What comparable achievements have we recorded in the last 40 years compared to the previous 40 years? Why it is very convenient to blame military interventions and external sabotage for much of our failures, we must also look within and ask those searching questions. Have we been fair to ourselves? As leaders, have we done the best to advance the socio-economic interests of the land? Trading blames and pointing accusing fingers at others will do us no good. To solve our problems, including worrisome insecurity, requires the collective engagement of all stakeholders. As leaders, we must acknowledge that the challenges we face today were products of yesterday's decisions. How do we create jobs and the enabling environment to sustain enterprise? How can we support our young people to live out the full expression of their dreams here? How do we build an ecosystem that attracts and retains the best talents we can find? The needs of have we been fair to ourselves? As leaders, have we done the best to advance the socio-economic interests of the land? Trading blames and pointing accusing fingers at others will do us no good. To solve our problems, including worrisome insecurity, requires the collective engagement of all stakeholders. As leaders, we must acknowledge that the challenges we face today we are products of yesterday's decisions. How do we create jobs?
Now, Biafrans. That's why he said it's only this guy that says something that is little okay, that please me a bit. You know, he said the challenge he faces today is the decision of yesterday. The challenges that we are facing today is the decision they took yesterday. What did Ipob done that they prescribe Ipob? Ipob who made us prescribe Ipob? Nothing. We are just with our ballot, our flag, and the Southeast governors. The Southeast governors, after calling Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to discuss Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on round table, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, according to our leader, he said, okay, let them build, let's Calabar seaport open, Wally seaport open, Iguacha seaport open, build the second Niger bridge, build infrastructure. This is what our leader demand. And guess what? They said, no, you asked too much. They went ahead and prescribed IPOB, want to execute our leader. At that same point, 28 men died, lose their life. 28 men lose their life. This is what Otis is reminding them, that the situation they face today, what we are facing today is the decision they make yesterday. We can remember those politicians that they were dancing when the rendition Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria. Senator Ojus Okalo, Oba, and the rest. They were all dancing, jubilating. That's the decision they take yesterday. And this is what's affecting us today. This is the cause of the insecurity. And they will not be man enough and said, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that two court have set him free. According to the law of the land, have set Mazi Nnamdi Kanu free. Release him. The decision I'm going to take yesterday is what is causing the problem today. How about Mpo killing in Anglican church? How about head bridge? The killing in head bridge. How about the killing in Emene? How about the killing in Aba? How about the killing in high school Aba? How about the killing this year, March 31st, where more than 50 people were executed by Nigeria forces? How about Emene? How about Donald Trump rally? How about Obibo? These are the decisions they took yesterday. And this is what's causing the problem today. And they are still causing it. They are still bombing us on air, on land. Whereas Boko Haram, the north, nothing is going on there. People are defending their own people. The north, they came out and told us that the bandits are their foot soldiers. The northern leader said the bandits are their foot soldiers. But in your own case, you were Wednesday, on your campo. One April and on a big one cable in your money. Ban or block one yarn or Kamala Malumba, Seba Pomba, The decision you take yesterday is the present cause of today. And you guys don't want to, even though you guys are working on the ground, it's not enough. You have to say it. People want to hear something. People want to hear something. Working on the ground, just like Chika Paul Edozie working on the ground for 2 years. Nothing. No evidence. Even though you governors are working. But we need something to hear so that some people will, will be down. Some people will be at, or top people no matter high blood pressure. Because if you guys in that summit pronounce Mazi Nnamdi Kanu name, pronounce God's name, that he must be released, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. But none of you said it. None of you said it. And you need the outcome, the problem, this thing occurs. You are talking about growing economy. In a growing economy in a war zone. Ukraine is the Ukraine growing the economy now. Ukraine, are they growing the economy now? I don't need to play this this guy now. I can whoop you and I can rush here because I'm watching this program. Okay, this woman, the deputy. Okay, the annual fear. I'm like one year. No, Chineke body go. Okay, the deputy. All the can map boy. Chineke ya body go. As a mother. Get the auntie. Dala, the believer.
Cutting this event as much as possible. So we crave your indulgence and your patience to still be with us. Let me quickly now invite Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State, representing the Governor, Right Honorable Francis Obona Wifru. I'd like to welcome our Princess Patricia Onyemechi Obila to please step forward here. Most of those comments we'll be having, if we could keep them as low as 3 minutes, we'll be very happy.
Our own brother, my own father, Chief Emmanuel Iwanyo, the Secretary of Security Chiefs here, other religious and traditional rulers here present. For what of time, let me appreciate and stand on the already established protocols. Greetings from my own dear Governor, the Executive Governor of Ebonyi State, Right Honorable Obona Wifru. He would have been here present. But you know what happened yesterday? He's still in Abuja. But we thank God for the grace. And congratulations to Ebonyi people and everybody here. I'm deeply grateful to the organizers of this wonderful security summit in our Southeast. It came at the right time. The time that we have to stick together as one family. It came at a time that we have to talk and look at our faces and tell ourselves the truth. Yes, we have come of that age. Enough is enough. We need to come home. We need to come together. We need to speak at one voice. We need to talk to each other, to encourage each other, so that all that we need in this Southeast will be done. What do we need? First of all, we need peace. This peace cannot just come from anywhere. Let us start from our homes. As a mother, what do you do in your house? Have you been able to talk to your children? When we talk of social vices all start from home. Have we been able to trace? Have we been able to talk to our children? Where are you coming from at this late hour? Which type of friendship? Which type of people do you follow? And once
Biafrans, I want you guys to listen, no? This is Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State. Deputy Governor. In a security summit like this, look at his address. Talking to mother. Mother have to ask their children, where are you coming from? And he mentioned peace. As a mother, your kid, your son is in DSS dungeon. 2 courts have set him free. He cannot pronounce it. But you are here to tell us, to ask our children, our kids. Chineke as a mother, you call yourself. Your son is in DSS dungeon for 2 years plus. No law is holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in DSS dungeon. 2 courts have set him free. But you claim that you are a mother. That the mothers have to take responsibility to know the way about their children. But one of your sons not there now. Only have 1 hour in a day. You cannot pronounce his name. And you're talking about security. And you're addressing people in a security summit. Chineke kpọdigo ọkụ. Chineke kpọdigo ọkụ. And what if I can put this woman there? No. Now, let's go to so-called Professor Iberibe. Professor Nzuzu. You know me? He met of Mantogi, metal of Ma, Professor Nzuzu. This gets important like so much. Clear? Okay. Okay.
The solution governor, and of course, a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, solution governor.
All other protocols duly observed. The day is far well spent. I was supposed to speak by 11:20 a.m. for 5 minutes. I arrived by 10:40 and had to wait until the commencement. And I'm sure most people are tired, getting tired already, and I don't want us to run. So I've abandoned the speech that I wrote. It's on my iPad back in my car. I will just say a few minutes, make a few minutes of remark. Just to say, 1, 2, 3, since I have 5 minutes, because I think we need to recover back time. Some of us will be running in a few minutes' time. 5 minutes, 5 points. The first is gratitude. Gratitude to the organizing committee. Gratitude to Ohaneze Ndị Igbo. and gratitude to our host governor and our chairman. I think he actually spoke on behalf of all of us, the governor. When he was going on, I said, let him take our own time and, so to speak. We donated it freely to him to speak on our behalf. Thank you very much for hosting this. This was scheduled by all of us, and I am very delighted to be here. I want to thank all of you, and thank you all for coming, answering the call of this summit scheduled by the 5 Southeast governors. That's my first point, gratitude and thank you. The second is and that is the most important reason why all of us, the 5 Southeast governors, are here. And that is to let our people know of our unwavering, unalloyed commitment to this project. And so I want to say on behalf of myself, the government, and the great people of Anambra State, that we are committed to this Southeast agenda. It's not just talk. We have started demonstrating this, the way that we have started conducting ourselves. This is really a new dawn in the Southeast. And for those I hear, and I see many people on televisions, talking and admonishing the Southeast governors to come together, unite and do this and so on and so forth. This is not talk. We are. And I am very, very delighted to be part of this particular group. When we had our first or the second Southeast Governors Forum together in Enugu, we demonstrated that all of us in attendance, no representation as it were. And today we are here. I'm part of that commitment to show that wherever it is in Igbo land, we are together. Ideally, this kind of summit, being the Southeast, should have been held in our eternal political capital, Enugu. But here we are in Owerri, demonstrating that commitment and solidarity with one another. I want to thank the governor of Enugu, who a few days ago hosted the True Justice and Peace Commission that I set up last year, and all the security advisors of the 5 governors were there. And you guys met. I've received the report, and I want to believe that our governors were going to consider this in due course. Thank you very much, the governor. And so, a new dawn, a new team now give us the agenda. And that brings me to my third point. My third point is that we need a plan. I don't want to regale you with my own proposals and so on and so forth. We all have ideas. But for the organizers of this summit, what we need, and will very much cherish from all of you, is not just a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan. The Vatican plans in century. Give us a 100-year plan for the Southeast. Understand? You're welcome. Give us a 100-year plan. And in Anambra, we developed a 50-year plan, Vision 2070. My manifesto derives from that 50-year plan. We are intentionally, deliberately, intently implementing that. We need a plan. Because if you don't have a destination in mind, any road will take you there. I want to believe that at the end of this summit, we have a working group that will give us a Southeast plan and an agenda. Anyanwu, I'm giving you more job to do. A plan. The next one is homeland consciousness. What will it take to implement this plan? Onwa? You spoke extensively about the things that we need, this and that, and so on and so forth. But I want to suggest, dear friends, that if we are not
we don't have the homeland consciousness, we don't believe in ourselves, this will not be achieved. So, let us believe. I've heard the speeches given, books of lamentations. They're very good to lament, but I rather like to see the glass as half full than half empty. The Southeast is ready for business. The Southeast is ripe for business. And we must all believe in our ability to turn things around and get the Southeast going again. That must be the outcome of this particular summit. We can lament about the insecurity and so on and so forth. This is not the most insecure place in the world. Other places are thriving in spite of their own insecurity. Yes, when I arrived in Anambra, 8 local governments were totally under siege by these hoodlums. They're all gone. We're settling to business. They will not deter us. Anambra and the Southeast, all of us, must be determined to move our place forward in spite of the challenges. So, I say to our people, what does in...
You know, this guy, his own speech was the worst speech in this summit. The worst speech in this summit. 5 minutes, 5 points of nonsense. 5 minutes, 5 points of nonsense. 5 minutes, 5 points of disappointment. This man, no. How can you talk about your economy when your state is not at peace? How can you talk about to grow your economy when you don't have a stable insecurity? How? How will the foreign investors come in? How will someone that want to relocate from Lagos to East come in when you don't have insecurity? When even when you enter a keke, they will kidnap you. They use keke to kidnap people. How? How you will talk about to grow economy in Southeast when someone will step out from his house in the morning, our family don't know if he will come back alive. How? John, this man, this professor. No, this is a man people so much believe on, even including me, so much believe on. The moment this guy stepped into this political circle, he changed overnight. He changed overnight. Change overnight. A country that Zeke from day one in 60s, Zeke is fighting to unite together. Zeke was not able to do it until he joined his ancestors. His you. Are you greater than Zeke? In fact, let me bring Zeke this thing up. I want you guys to hear from Zeke before I bring his old video. I want you guys to hear from Zeke to tell you guys that this Nigeria can never work. Can never. Listen to Zeke when he was pleading that they should come together and heal the wounds. Let's listen to him.
All races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race. I call upon Alhaji Amadou Bello, the Sultan of Sokoto, to join us in this clear task of national reconstruction. I exhort Chief Obafemi Awolowo to associate with us. In this great adventure of restoring the dignity of man in the world. There are many leaders who can give active support and assistance to our nation at its supreme hour of need. Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola, Dr. Michael Ihanukara Okpara, and Samuel Grace Ikoku, and then Chief Dennis Chukude Osarebe, Malam Aminu Kanu, Malam Ibrahim Imam, and J.S. Taka of Northern Nigeria, and countless others. I appeal to all our leaders, far and near, to forget the wounds which were inflicted in cause of our internecine altercation. The love of our country to outweigh the love of our selves. The enjoyment of individual freedom under the law should mean more to us than our self-centered party programs and manifestos. Common dangers and common enemies alert us on the need for common security. The British came here in 1851 and found us hopelessly divided in tribal compartments. When Britain transferred power to us on 1st October 1960, we were no longer an expression of geography, but a reality of history. During all our years of political vassalage, we became socially and economically integrated. We have also developed an identity of interest, and we have crystallized common nationality. The process of political integration reached its zenith at midnight on 30th September 1960, when we lastly sang our national anthem, and our national flag was hoisted aloft to signal the birth of a new nation. Come and join Abubakar with me, Sadauna, Awolowo, Akitola, Osarebe, Okpara, Ikoku, Aminu Kanu, Ibrahim Imam, and Taka. Let us bind the nation's wound, and let us heal the breaches of the past, so that in forging our nation, there shall emerge on this continent a hate-free, fear-free, and greed-free people who shall be in the vanguard of a world task force whose assignment is not only to revive the stature of man in Africa, but to restore the dignity of man in the world.
So, both Soludo and the Pius Anyim, this is the great Zik calling on all those people to unite together, to let them heal the wound, let them build the bridge, let them build the bridge of togetherness, let them do this, let them do that, preach. But at the end of the day, what happened? Nothing. At the end of the day, what happened? Nothing. You go and join his ancestors. Nigeria was not meant for you. Nigeria were created as a company to survive Western countries. If you don't know it. Nigeria were created to survive them. Nigeria is the midst of the survivor. That's just the facts. Because there's no way Afghanistan can live together with America. It's impossible. There's no way Afghanistan will live together with America. Two of them will become one country. It's impossible. There's no way Pakistan and United Kingdom will be one country. It is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Then how do you think that Ndibo na Fulani Janjaweed will be one country? No, because their own plan and yours is never the same. They have a plan to conquer you, to turn you to a Muslim, to dip Quran in the high sea. This was their plan. Now, let's go to Soludo. 6 years back of Soludo. Let's go to Soludo 6 years back. Let's go to Soludo 6 years back. 6 years back of Soludo. Six years back of Soludo.
It's a great pleasure for me, really an honor, to be called upon to review this book, The Politics of Biafra and the Future of Nigeria.
Please, as you come in, like and share. It's very important.
Honorable Chudi of
Thank you.
Fodile.
Let's listen to
If
you.
you want to hear from me, the summary of the review that I'm going to make is to simply say, read this book. If you haven't read it, you haven't read any book on Nigeria, on Biafra, and the road ahead in recent times. I picked a copy a few days ago, and quite honestly, I couldn't stop. I couldn't drop it for 1 minute until I finished. And I bet you that when you pick it, when you pick your own copies today, and you start, you will never stop until you finish. And quite after reading that, I quickly called him and booked for at least 50 copies on reserve, because I understand that the copies are very few and will soon go out. What I would do in this book review, because we don't have time, actually after I read that last night, I was writing notes and written more than 15 pages or so, but I would just read Makandiota, the first 1.5 pages. Then I will go on just to raise some of the themes or takeaways which I think should inform much of our discussions and so on. If you want me to go through the entire content, I won't. Just read the book. So, by way of introduction, I said that this book, for me, this is the book of the year on the future of Nigeria. And anyone interested in the survival of Nigeria has to read this book urgently. Honorable Chudi of Fodile has done much of the research and thinking for us and provides useful markers on the road ahead. The literary style is gripping with pleasant storytelling, infused with strong analytical and empirical content that relies on historical records, while not shy to push his personal conclusions. Laced with humor, you read the whole bit of it. It's quite interesting. I remember him talking about Chimamanda Adichie's Half of a Yellow Sun, and remarking for Nwatakịrị na-afụrụ agha ide ụdịva. He wrote that in Igbo. I don't know, Chudi himself was a baby during the war, so we might also say, if Ron ife Nwatakịrị na-afụrụ agha dekwa unu biko. Laced it with a lot of humor, as well as his family and personal experiences and anecdotes. Ofodile takes you through a long but refreshing journey that at every turn challenges you to stop and think. He brings fresh perspectives, and its carefully choreographed thematic arrangement and focus easily pass the book as an excellent piece of research work. Following in his jokes and so on, but his goal, even in spite of all of this, seems very clear: to clarify and challenge several of the mainstream narratives surrounding the identity and fate of the Igbos in Nigeria, the struggle for Biafra, its impacts on politics and development in Igbo land, Nigeria's largely futile attempt at forging, quote, forging a nation in a furnace, end of quote, through its inequitable but dysfunctional unitary federal structure and the unfinished business in terms of the lingering national question for Nigeria. Ofodile argues forcefully that sustainable development will continue to elude Nigeria unless and until it confronts and addresses what he calls the Biafran dilemma, unquote. Since, quote, it is impossible to hold an unwilling people hostage in any country without negative consequences, end of quote. Biafra in this context is both a specific geographical aspiration and as well as a metaphor for getting Nigeria to work. And coming at a time when many analysts argue that Nigeria has never been more divided, and some even question its long-term survival as a country, while a cacophony of persistent voices insist on the restructuring of Nigeria, this book is timely and provides a powerful insight on the road to take. For anyone interested in understanding the idea and metaphor of neo-Biafranism, or the historical event of its first advent, aftermath, and the new resurgence, as well as the road that Nigeria must take to save its fragile state, this book is a must-read. Once you start reading, as I said before, you won't drop it until the last page. For researchers, intellectuals, and students of history, politics, and political science, Ofodile's book opens many of the existing books on Biafra and Nigeria. It is pungent and audacious. I want to say audacity. It's really a thing that grips you through the book. As an elder said when he was being confronted about Biafra and all this quest and the agitation for Biafra, his response was, so it seems that it is actually those who didn't actually experience it firsthand and who are the children of the, if you like, either during or after the war that exhibit the audacity in discussing Biafra. And I will tell you that the book raises many points of debate, some of which will never be settled. The book is organized in 7 parts with 20 short chapters reflecting the major themes and messages in 279 pages and, of course, published by Safari Books, Ibadan. I was happy personally to authorize the publication of my articles in This Day in 2012 as the appendix on that. And as I said, this book simply said, I mean, I won't go through all the other pages. I just wanted to read this particular first part of my intervention as it is, just like I said, for the avoidance of doubt. But I call this book the book of counter-narratives. If you read this book from the beginning, like I said, 17 parts, or 7 parts and 20 short chapters. Chapter 1, the preview, where he takes you through a tour de force and also provides forcefully the counter-narrative on Biafra and all kinds of things, what caused the war, how it was done, and everything he challenges. Chapter 2, the Igbo identity crisis. Who are the Igbos? Where are they? Who calls themselves Igbo? In the new Biafra, where would the boundary be? And so on and so forth. The 15th January 1966 coup, what caused it, who organized it, and so on and so forth. The 29th July counter coup, who did, why, and so on. He challenges all the mainstream narratives on all of this. Chapter 5, part 2, period of hostilities. On Aburi we stand. For Chude, if Nigeria had kept the contents of the agreement at Aburi, the Biafran Civil War would not have happened, and so on and so forth. So you'll find all these counter-narratives all over. The Biafra intelligentsia, those who drove the war, and his thesis later on that even the current agitation, that without an organized group of intelligentsia to actually drive it, it may not happen. Then the Biafra's non-Igbo actors, Biafra and Britain and the horrors of war. He identifies all the non-Igbos who actually supported Wole Soyinka and the others, even our minority ethnic groups and so on and so forth. Britain and the horrors of war. Why Britain didn't support Biafra and why it actually gave arms to Nigeria. And even some people who had to bond themselves and agitations and the protests, the one of Kanu and so on and so forth, the long letter to renounce all the British honors he had and so on and so forth. Part 3, the Igbo political trajectory, Nnamdi Azikiwe, the rupture of the views between Zik and Ojukwu, mainstream thoughts in Igbo land, and where they parted were differed ideologically, and even the issue of strategy and tactics about whether to negotiate within the context of pan-Nigeria, negotiate peace, or that Biafra, sovereign Biafra, was not negotiable, and so on and so forth, and that how that rupture within Igbo land and between Ojukwu and Zik actually permeated the politics of Igbo land even after the Civil War, and probably still persisting much of today. And even today, much later, you'll say that the thesis about what is emerging as a new Biafranism, the agitation for Biafra, compared with the alternative, which is the Neo-Zikism, still negotiating a fairer federal Nigeria and the position of Igbos within that. You will see the letters between, very interesting, I found. I don't know where he got the archives, the letters exchanged between Azikiwe and Sir Louis Odumegwu Ojukwu, and so on and so forth. The letters by Zik, and so on, very, very interesting. And then you get the Achebe's take on Zik and the Igbo intellectuals who never forgave him for quote-unquote abandoning them during the war. Chapter 12, the Asika years. Interestingly, he points out the Asika years, whatever anybody will think according to him, was actually the golden era in the Southeast. Then he deals with the years of decline. From 76 to 98, then Dr. Kweme's bid for power, the betrayal of PDP with the original principles, and that was the last bid, a major bid by an Igbo man for the presidency of Nigeria. And of course, he blames His Excellency that he should have founded his own political party, and that if he had his own party and was a presidential candidate in '99, the outcome of that election, the dynamics of power would have been different. The years of decline again, 99 to 2015. Then he talks about, the failure of leadership. These years of decline and the failure of leadership in Igbo land. That's the gripping story that he concludes with. In other words, the agitation for Biafra, yes, partly because of the marginalization on the part of the larger Nigeria, but even more fundamentally, also that as we point one finger forward, there are the other fingers pointing back at us, and that there is palpable failure of leadership in Igbo land. On part 5, he takes on Biafra from surrender to rebirth. Masob, Ipob, Bilie. Actually, he traces the origin of the recent resurgence of the agitation for Biafra to what happened to His Excellency Dr. Kweme at the Just Convention of the PDP, and the feeling of injustice to a group. And that may have, according to him, ignited this, because that the agitation, the new Biafra movement, started in 1999, and not after this election as being falsely put up by some. He takes on the Masob, the Ipob, Bilie initiative, and so on and so forth. And the fact that actually there are, within this new movement of the new Biafranism, there is a division between those who want the democratic process, going through the legal process, and that you now have people Dr. Dozie Ikedife, OON, and retired Justice Ezo Zobo, CON or whatever, of Nigeria. They are now in court. They have sued the federal government of Nigeria at the Federal High Court in Owerri, actually agitating that Biafra should let my people go, as it were. So there is a division in the new Biafranism between the Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu's group, and the Dozie Ikedife and the other elders, that they have actually set up a customary government, as it were, on how to pursue this. So, as they put it, then you go to part 6 on the future of Nigeria. Then he talks about Biafra and Nigeria, the war philosophy about to keep Nigeria is a task one, as task must be done, and Nigeria not being negotiable. Of course, he argues forcefully that the map of Nigeria in 1999 is no longer the same map today because Bakassi has been exercised from Nigeria, and therefore that the thesis that the thing cannot be negotiated is already a falsehood. It's already been reconstructed and renegotiated, and that Biafra can also be renegotiated. And that particular point of view is false in its entirety. Then 19, Sardauna was a federalist, and that under a true federal structure, Sardauna of Sokoto, as the leader of NPC, preferred to be in Kaduna, in charge of the regional government, than going to be prime minister of Nigeria, because being premier of northern region was where the power was, rather than going to but that we have turned everything upside down. His conclusions are very powerful. Of course, part 7 ends with my piece on where Nigeria goes from here in terms of what I call reconstructing Nigeria for prosperity, the 3-piece articles that I wrote in this there. Let me just end by taking just 3 quick conclusions, because like I said, I have about 12 pages here, but I can't go through them for want of time. Then we'll need a lot of time. But let me just, for some teasers, point out that reading through this book, one comes through few themes. The broader and summarizing counter narrative of Honorable Afodile is that, and also supported by what Abakoba San had said at some point, a thesis that if you have a truly federal, fairer, restructured Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the agitation for Biafra might win. That is the counter-narrative. But he also argues forcefully about the absence of leadership in Igbo land to push for this counter-narrative. Today, he talks about the leadership failures, and he took on very forcefully some of our sons who, at least in the last government, he accused of taking the slots belonging to the Igbos. And what they achieved with it was basically to turn rebellions to develop their own villages and abandon the entire Igbo land, as it were. And so this vacuum, according to him, that there is nobody, there is no leadership that actually agitates for the larger Igbos within the same, agitating for this fairer neo-Nigerian, whatever, what I might call the Neo-Zikism. In other words, within the context of that, Neo-Zikism will represent what Azikiwe lived and canvassed for. They negotiated for a new constitution, for constitutions of Nigeria. They went through a series of constitutional conferences, and Zik died a federalist. So in Igbo land, there could be 2 contending views: the Neo-Zikism, a fairer federal Nigeria, versus the Neo-Biafranism, a people who are impatient, who think this thing cannot be fixed. You can't fix Nigeria. It's beyond repair. Just let my people go. There's no question. And even within that, there are differences about the strategy to go through that. But let me point out that in terms of the rupture that took place between Zik and Ojukwu, it seems to me that if the two men were alive today, that they will probably align more with the federal, reformed, federalist Nigeria. And why I say that is that Ojukwu, this is an interpretation. My interpretation is that Ojukwu died a federalist. That's my thesis. And why I reach that is that while all through the war, as Chode points out, until the Addis Ababa Conference of 1969, he was for negotiation. He was for Igbos going back. Aburi was broken. He was struggling to get it to work until he saw that there was no way, and then he said Biafra was then non-negotiable. But after the war, when he came back, he joined NPN and urged Igbos to go back to be reintegrated into Nigeria. That even in 90, when political parties were being set up, he formed his own political party. It wasn't registered, according to this book, but he later joined APUGA and became its national leader. And APUGA is a national party which, among other things, agitates for true federalism. And he contested as a presidential candidate of APUGA, seeking to be president of Nigeria. So in all its ramifications, when you put all together, joining a national party, just like most of the Igbos agitating against the marginalization of the Igbos, that if Ojukwu were alive, that there could have been back again, the rupture probably would have mended back into a mono view, into a federal, fairer Nigeria. That is a question, but there seems to be quite two views. The Neo-Zikism for pan-Nigerian federalists versus Neo-Biafranism to go into a sovereign state of Biafra. A second theme that I pick is that Nigeria, everybody talks about restructuring. From this book, we get an unambiguous view of the faulties design of the Nigerian system. There was a modification of the Agui-Ironsi's unitary system into a unitary federal structure with a suffocating command post at Abuja. That suffocating command structure of unitary federalism was okay for sharing and consuming the oil rent. But now that things are falling apart, but that system also, even while the oil rent lasted, was inherently politically unstable and unproductive economically. If you see the failed or fragile state indices and the rankings of Nigeria, we have been coming back precipitously from number 54 in 2005, now to number 13. We are one of the countries under the red alert list. And so it hasn't worked. The concoction hasn't worked. The 36 state structure that we have today, Ofodile argues very forcefully that this current 36 structure is contrary to the instruments of surrender of Biafra, that there are three conditions that they agreed on the instruments of surrender, one of which was that the Biafrans accepted, said, we accept the current structure, which then was a 12-state structure. And that B or C of it was that any future change must bring all Nigerians on the table to agree. And that these were the things they signed at the instrument of surrender, but that the military unilaterally subsequently changed the structure without then the participation of the other side. And he argues that this is against the instrument of the surrender, and that no wonder the Southeast has been marginalized out of it. 5 states out of the others having 6 and 7, as the case may be. Now, there is the issue of unitary fiscal federalism instead of the 1963 Republican Constitution on fiscal federalism. There is the expansive exclusive list and having overpowerful Abuja. The development process is a trickle down from Abuja to the rest instead of a bottom-up economic and development arrangement. The census and revenue allocation that disadvantages the Southeast. There is a citizenship question. The Igbos think they become visitors everywhere all over the country. When it is time for census, the Southeast complain that they are about the only ethnic group that have maybe a majority of their people living outside of their homeland. And that during census, their populations are counted in the states where they live. Imagine a state, and then population becomes basis for sharing the oil money in Abuja. When it is time for that, you count them in there, you don't ask for state of origin in the census. But then, you use also the population to get the allocations. But when it is time to share anything else, you remind them that they don't belong here, as the case may be. So there have been issues about citizenship question, and so on and so forth. So, in other words, this system, it's not just the Southeast or the Igbos that complain. It has not worked for Nigeria. And my thesis is that even if any government, including this one, just have all the political appointments from one village, my thesis is that the life of the average person in that village will not change. Just rewind it again, and think the other way. The last regime, we had an Ebele Azikiwe as president. We had secretary to government. We had minister of finance and coordinating minister on the economy. We had all of this, deputy senate president, this, that, and so on and so forth. Most of the financial institutions headed by people from the Southeast. And yet, there is no motorable federal highway in Igbo land. This thing is an elite game, as far as I'm concerned. The issue of who and whatever and so on and so forth is not taking us anywhere. And unless we get to the heart of it. So, it seems that there is a consensus today. There is a consensus. If you take it much broadly, the North, so-called North, if you calculate the number of years they were in power, but essentially, poverty is still predominantly a northern phenomenon. So, that you control this and a few billionaires are made here and there and so on and so forth means absolute nothing. The ordinary man in Nigeria has not benefited, is getting worse off by the current system that we have. But there is a consensus now on restructuring. And in that case, Fodile would argue that Biafra becomes a metaphor for agitation by oppressed people for justice, equity, and fairness. It hasn't worked for anybody. If you look at President Buhari recently said he also supports amendment of the Constitution or devolution. If you read the APC manifesto, it says, quote, as a change agent, APC intends to cleanse our closet to halt the dangerous drift of Nigeria to a failed state, with a conscious plan for post-oil economy in Nigeria. To achieve this laudable program, APC government shall restructure the country, devolve power to the units with the best practices of federalism, and eliminate unintended paralysis of the center. End of quote. This is the government in power that controls 23 states. This is the APC manifesto. So, and the Southern People's Assembly talk about the same thing. The Afenifere's position on the National Conference, if you read it, talks about the same thing. The National Conference report talks, supported by PDP, the same thing. So what is holding us? I must say the goal of this bit should be political stability and economic prosperity. In my view, a competitive federalism. We can write a book on this aspect of competitive federalism. Compared to the First Republic, when everybody had theirs, they had the resources, especially on revenue, a fiscal federalism. We've argued before, leave everybody their own thing, let them pay taxes to the center. This umbilical cord where Abuja will set wage for everybody all over the country, and so on and so forth. It was for a time when oil money paid for it. Not anymore. Even in the US, you may have read about the governor of Maine, that the wife of the governor had to take a job in a restaurant to augment their income. Because given the state of Maine, the salary of the governor was not enough for them to survive on. And the wife had to take a job in a restaurant. The governor of Maine's salary cannot be the same as the mayor of New York, and so on and so forth. But here we've done all of this. Abuja controls it. Anyway, that's for another day. But what is holding us now, what I call as matter arising, is that the devil is in the details. Let the debate begin. What exactly do we mean by restructuring? The National Conference report, for example, is a beginning. But in my view, doesn't go much. It talks about creating more states, which misses the point. It's still more of the same. We are saying the ones that you have are not viable. 20-something states today cannot pay salaries. So what are we talking about? Or should we go back to the EQMS constitution, the proposal of 6 zonal structure as the federating units? What model of federation? Should we use the UAE, United Arab Emirates system, or which one are we going? Let us get to work and begin to think. Some people propose, and I agree, that we need a new constitution negotiated by the people of Nigeria. And my thesis is that if this is the only achievement of President Buhari, he would be the greatest statesman ever in the mode of Abraham Lincoln. But we need to get this done, that the people of Nigeria will have to get together and negotiate a new constitution for themselves. Second, or the third point, is leadership failure in Igbo land. It raises fundamental questions if you read Chude's book on the collapse of failure of leadership in Igbo land and the search for the new one, whatever. It's in that light it agitates your mind when we talk about the Igbo presidency. What does that actually mean? Is it to have somebody wearing a red cap in the villa, or what? If all that we say, even within the states, a governor is first his village, his local government, then his senatorial zone, so that he can be Ochilo Ozwa of his own local government or his village, and so on and so forth, then let the others care. Is that the kind of leadership we are talking about Nigeria, or in the new Biafra, as it were? And we have seen it, like I said, about people occupying offices and so on and so forth, and still nothing. So the question is, the same contradictions in Nigeria are also there within Igbo land. We cry of marginalization at the larger Nigeria, but there is also cries of marginalization within. There is the identity question within. There is the citizenship and indigenship question within. How many other Igbos live in Aba and in Abia, for example? But, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years ago, that was the indigenship thing, that all non-Abia citizens were sacked from but these people had lived there, worked there, paid their taxes there. They were counted as part of Abia in the census. You collect revenue, more revenue because of them, but then, no, you can't work in there, you are not an indigent. So while we are pointing one finger there, Ladies and gentlemen, look closely. The other three are saying, let's get it here. And so how can this new leadership emerge? And then of course the entry fee is very high. The fourth, the new Biafranism, and that is my last point. And let me say that Nigeria has wittingly or unwittingly dragged the Biafran issue from the periphery into the mainstream discussion. Nnamdi Kanu, in my view, threw a bait and Nigeria took it. Today, he is the most popular political prisoner and will end up either as a hero or a martyr. But to his credit, he has forced Nigeria and the world to discuss Biafra. I believe that keeping him there does not do Nigeria any good. I believe this young man should be released, and released like yesterday.
So,
I will not be surprised if he becomes a subject of the next political campaigns. Just like we dealt with Awolowo, who was convicted and imprisoned of treason, or Gowon, charged with treason, or even Ojukwu himself was forgiven, and so on and so forth. I don't want to make any predictions, but I believe we need to solve this. Because according to Ofodile, this book, quote, he said, the lesson to be learned, if anyone cares to listen, is that the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, no matter for how long, will not stop the agitation of Biafra, end of quote. He further argues that the detention of Uwazurike between 2005 to 2007 helped to radicalize his followers. The same thing happened when the leader of Boko Haram was killed. His followers became more radicalized. Detention of Nnamdi Kanu, I never heard of him before this time, to be quite honest. Never heard of him. I didn't even know about the Ipob or whatever thing. Until this thing, and you now realize globally it's become an issue and it's become mainstream. Now, and again, quote, he says, this book argues that the idea of a customary government under the Supreme Council of Elders in accordance with customary law enjoys the support among a section of the Igbo, but it is the Biafra or death philosophy of Nnamdi Kanu that found resonance across the length and breadth of the Igbo nation. Therefore, there cannot be a resolution of the Biafran dilemma without a wholesome engagement of the Nnamdi Kanu / Uche Mefo faction of Ipob. End of quote. That's what this was. So, if I were President Buhari, quite honestly, I would be very suspicious of anyone who advises me to ignore the Biafran issue. I'll be very suspicious. Anybody who says that is either ignorant or being mischievous or quite patently doesn't mean well for the government itself. It probably wants the same government to repeat the mistakes of the past so that it could lead it down the train. We must start learning in this country. So let's talk Biafra. Where are the Igbo elite and intelligentsia in all of this, especially those in Nigeria? It seems, as this book points out, this is being driven mostly by the Igbo intelligentsia in diaspora, the new resurgence. The new ones within, there seems to be a division, 3 classes you can identify. The ones within the mainland, and I'm shocked, and you discuss, they have a different point of view. Those in diaspora within Nigeria, so to speak, who are in Abuja and Lagos and so on and so forth, Kano, Kaduna, and so on. And an elder was asked about that, living in one of these northern states, about Biafra, and they asked him, what do you think about this Biafra? said, well, nah, I just didn't know I came and him and a mama and I was not to go. In other words, they should keep it up, but you know I can no longer go now. You see all the things I have here, I cannot carry them on my head. So, there seems to be a sense of either denial, and on one part, or people who think, no, it won't be, because we can't just imagine it. And because of some discussion that, oh, okay, if this happens, you will lose your property, you will lose that, and so on. Of course, that is untenable. I mean, I too was wrong on this, because if by any chance you have another state of Biafra, it will be the 16th state of ECOWAS. And that means you have free movement of goods and persons. But the fundamental question, the fundamental issue is that this debate is not happening. This whole thing is being driven almost in a haphazard manner. Last week, they called for, was that last week? Yeah, last week. They called for a sit at home. And even without anybody getting out to more enforce and so on, I learned virtually Anambra and many other cities were completely shut down. It just tells you there is something going on. But, again, where is the elite in this? What is missing is structured debate and apparent elite aloofness or complicity or hypocrisy. Elite in denial. For the politicians who think you can just, let's use them temporarily, let's use them. Just go on, while we can then use that to negotiate for something here. I can tell you, you will create a monster that will consume you. When that inferno comes, both us, everybody else, and the kind of thing that happened in Biafra where dissent, any dissent was considered a saboteur. Okay? You might get to a point where you will be telling them, just go on, while we can negotiate here, get something for ourselves in Abuja. They will look at you too and know that you're actually part of the problem. And so on and so forth. So, I say, let the debate must begin. The late Dr. Pius Okibo, in this book as well, presented what the memo by late Dr. Pius Okibo presented to the Biafran government on the economic viability of Biafra. Nobody is talking about what the currency will look like. How will you fare with international trade? What kind of constitution are you talking about? And Affordile forcefully argues here that the Ahera Declaration of 1969 came too late. They had intelligentsia pushing for Biafra, but there was no organized structure. That if they had done what they did towards the end of the war at the beginning, Biafra would not have ended the way that it did. But what is shocking is people talk about this in their bedrooms and in their parlors, and then you come out and everybody is, and so on. I'm sure it will not take long. So what I am calling is that we must, the elite, the intelligentsia, get out of the closet and let us, now that the issue, the president in New York made a point. He said there will be no referendum in Biafra. Now, and I said, my reaction to it was, oh my God. So this matter has actually gotten to the point where we are now talking whether to have a referendum or not to have a referendum. The moment you've reached that point, it tells you that it's only a matter of time. But who is driving the debate? The New Zikism, New Biafranism, and so on and so forth. Everybody seems to be quite quiet. And finally, let me agree with Wole Soyinka that Biafra is an idea. And that is what this book talks about. You can't defeat it with guns or prison cells. The only way to defeat it is to offer a counter narrative. What should? There has been none, no counter narrative until now. What Honorable Ofodile has done is to provide very powerful, not only counter narrative, but counter narratives. And I will say, and stresses the urgency of action now. The clock is ticking. And I can only end by congratulating Chode for this eminent work. Thank you very much.
So, Biafrans, now, Flair, do you guys now understand how people change? This is Soludo 6 years back. And Soludo, presently today, is a different person. This is how Soludo narrates, explains the book of Chode Ofodile about Biafra, about our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But today, Soludo have found himself in the corridor of power, have found himself in the corridor of leadership. What is Soludo doing? Soludo said, let the debate continue. Is the debate of Biafra continue in his government? Rather, he said that there was eight local governments, and they called it criminals that control it. So as of today, there are no more. And he said, Soyinka said, he cannot defeat Biafran with guns and bullets. But today, what is happening? They are killing us, they are bombing us, and Soludo is part of the government, is part of the leadership. He's saying nothing. That tells you how people change. So cut this area and send to Soludo. And I'm happy he said that he cannot defeat Biafra with guns and bullets. And he also said Buhari should release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That was then. That was around 2017. So we asked Soludo, what is happening today? We saw how he went to Abuja for inauguration of Tinubu. We saw how he was humiliated, disgraced. That shows Nigeria is not for you. So, Soludo, with this 5-point stupid agenda you make here, 5 minutes, 5 nonsense agenda you make, we are disappointed in you. Igbos are disappointed in you. Look at what you said. Let me bring you up again, Soludo. Let's listen to you. Or let's listen to Soludo of today again and see what Soludo said.
Didn't make a mistake in making you Onibo. God didn't make a mistake in making you to come from the southeast. If he chose for you to come at the time when all the problems are solved, then he would have decided to make you to come another time, not now. So, homeland consciousness, we must all believe. Stop seeing the half empty, oh, it's all gloom and doom. They shot somebody yesterday and therefore we must all run. If we all do that, this place will be a desolate homeland. We must believe. And my last point, the kind of partnerships you require to make it happen. When we believe, and part of that belief, in Uguabia, and I now we're in Butan Diapuete from Abia and Innocent from Newi or Shu from where? Who said Abba? Not Abba.
Remitly offers so many easy ways.
My shoe comes from Obudike. I believe. Because I do what I believe. Where is yours coming from? Eh? Where? No. I can see the fine things from Italy and from all over the world and so on. We must believe. So self-belief for me is fundamental. If we live here without mainstreaming that, then all this wallowing, we might have just come feel good factor, we talk to ourselves and go home. We must believe in ourselves. And finally, after the issue of self-belief comes partnerships. Ndi Igbo, we need not just ourselves, we need Nigeria. Ndi Igbo need Nigeria and Nigeria needs Ndi Igbo. Ndi Igbo need Africa and the world and Africa need Ndi Igbo. As an itinerant people, we cannot be an intolerant people.
I don't need to play this into the end because I have limited time because Barrister Ikechukwu is coming on air. Please, if you are not download Biafra Radio, go and download Biafra Radio. 9 p.m. Biafra time, our barrister, our golden voice, Ikechukwu Nola, is coming live on Biafra Radio. Please, my fans, we should all move to Biafra Radio to listen to our golden voice. Now, we all see Soludo 6 years ago and Soludo today. You can see the difference. You can see now he has been part of the leadership. He has been part of the government. But what is he doing? He's now speaking from both sides of his mouth. Biafra is what we know. Either Biafra or Biafra. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu must be released. So on this note, I said this weekend I'm going to do a program, Mazi Nnamdi phone conversation between him and expel coordinator in America, Dr. Donald Azubike, and that also will link to Chibuzo Egwatu that today have denounced his membership card, have quit being part of IPOB. I told them that I bụ nke mmadụ na-achọ igwe onye ọsọ anyị ji eziokwu Chineke mmaga na-etibu oti mgbodo mgbo today ka ebe anọba all of them that want Madam Nene to be sacked, where are they today? One by one, as they look, they go one by one. Donald and go. Others are coming. Where is China Sawankita? Missing in action. Where is Chika Paul Edozemu? Missing in action. So, Biafrans, on this note, I will say, Onya for Tata, Kafuechi. Please, as you come in, like and share to start this message. Koga Vaila, Udodulunu, one love, brother. Let's go to Biafra Radio. That's where we worship. Go and download Biafra Radio if you are not download the app. Thank you. Ndewonu.
Oh,